Hello, hi again. My name is Antoinette. I'm a holistic nutritionist, and what I do on regular basis to help people optimize their health by resetting the metabolism. And so, as in the past videos that I've discussed in the past, I talk about metabolism, and today the conversation that we're going to raise today is going to be about metabolism and the hormone that called leptin. So leptin hormone that most of the time people do talk about it, and in situation where it comes to where you want to kind of see if your metabolism at the optimal level, or why sometimes a person wonders is like, oh my goodness, I just eat and I never get full. I eat 3 pizzas or 4 pizzas. I mean, they're first of all they're they're nutrients deficient. But again, if naturally you eat sufficient amount whole foods food and you still feel you are not full, there must be something with your leptin. All right. So what is leptin? What we're going to go through, what is leptin? What does it do? How does it affect our metabolism? Those are the things that we're going to go in today together. And when we have that hormone that is not functioning correctly, what are the possible things that you can do to help you? And it's kind of a complex hormone itself, but if there's anything wrong, your body's going to start to communicate with you on regular basis to kind of give you a good start of where you can start paying a little bit more attention to that. So what is leptin? So leptin, it is a hormone that tells your brain that you are satisfied. That means you're full. That means you need to stop. You need to stop consuming food, whatever you are consuming or whatever you're drinking. So when this signal is not transferred to your brain, or your brain is not able to capture that signal is sent, then that's when you become what we call leptin resistant. Right, that's what we call leptin resistant. So actually, if I can just kind of put in a little bit of a good understanding, leptin is just like you know how we all have cars, right? We all have cars, and we go to the gas station, and we're about to fill up our car, and then the suddenly it's just we're pulling the gas into the tank, but the tank never, there's that signal that tells the tank to stop. You know how it pops up, you can just sit comfortably in your car, and then when you hear that sound, you know automatically that is done, that is a sufficient amount of gasoline that is in your tank, and that's, you don't need more. Now imagine if that's not functioning, it's just going to pour out in the you never know that the your gasoline, your tank is full. So that is the same process. Just remember that your leptin is just kind of that signal that tells the brain that you need to stop, so the brain can send another a signal that you're fully full. So it is the same thing. So how is this leptin hormone produced? Where does it come? So leptin is produced in the fat cells, and it's kind of a paradox when I speak about leptin. Leptin is kind of similar to how we need the fat, because the leptin is produced through the fat, but then at the same time, the fat, that's when we feel that we're full. So if we can have a lot of fat in our body, but again, the fact that that message is not being received by the brain, then as a result, we are not able to get that satisfaction message sent over so we can stop. So that is really how it works. The hormone is produced by the fat, but we need the fat from food in order for us to feel full. That's why there's certain foods that actually you eat, and those foods, they make you feel fuller longer. Like you need to eat good healthy fats, because those ones, they make you feel longer faster, and that's where the hormone leptin is produced too as well. Now, what are the things that you can actually do in order for you to really understand or kind of have an idea if you do have if you do have sorry, give me a second. Yes. So, what are the things that you can just kind of test in yourself? As again, as I speak, I talk about subjective testing, and I talk about objective testing. Subjective testing, again, it consists of the symptoms that you're feeling. How is your body feeling? So, let's say, for instance, if you eat a lot of food and you feel that your food is not filling you up, if you drink and then if you feel fatigued, or if you're trying to lose weight, but the weight is not coming out, your sleep, you're having difficulty sleeping and consistently feeling that you're low energy. Those are the signs, those are symptom signs that you can be going through at this point in time. And if you pay attention to those ones, you can, you can give, it's like good hints or physical experience that you're going through. And again, when you're going to your practitioner or doctor, pay attention, like express your feelings as clear as possible, because they're very helpful to determine, if truly you have that condition or situation. So there's also other things that we call sub-objective testing and objective testing that we call blood. That really objective is blood. You do blood work, and that blood work is going to tell us, is your leptin levels extremely high. So if your leptin levels are extremely high, then that's when it can be tested as well, because that's going to be a good indication that you may be having an issue with your leptin, or maybe having leptin resistance. There's a couple other tests that you want to do in order to test that. And again, this is a test that I highly, highly recommend when it comes to metabolism and understanding where your metabolism are, and you want to track that over time, is your fasting insulin. Very, very, very important. Fasting insulin, to know where your fasting insulin levels are, and also to make sure that you know your inflammation marker, the CRP levels, where they are. So if your CRP levels are high, you probably want to make sure that we bring them back. So those are the tests that you can, request and get it done, especially if you know that you're having these symptoms and you feel that your metabolism, as you say, my metabolism is slow. Get these tests done, because that objective testing and that subjective test comes all together and makes a whole understanding of who you are and where you are at, and things that can help you be better in terms of your metabolism and a better version of yourself. So I speak about other hormones as well. This is not the only one. I spoke about insulin itself. I spoke about cholesterol, how cholesterol is very important. I mean, how yes, cholesterol is very important into this aspect, and other hormones in my past videos. So now, how does really why is leptin important in terms of actually help determining on how it's going to affect your metabolism? So, well, now you can only imagine, well, if you're having a problem with the message of how your body is going to receive the message of you being full, and that message is not being transferred, of course you're going to have overboard. And not only that, you have so much energy or fat that is going over and just making a person bigger and bigger and bigger, but you don't have a stop. And in addition to that, you're still feeling hungry. Like it's problematic. It's pretty problematic. So and also, when you have a leptin resistance, what happens as well is that the fat burning is slower. Right? It's just your body's working so hard on this endless thing that is continuing to happen over and over. At some point, it's just gonna be like, you know what, I can't burn this fat anymore, because it's just too much coming in. Right? And even in a situation where people don't have sufficient amount of that, it's important to keep in mind that the resistance is going to make a person more hungry. You're not satisfied in that aspect, where it's important to get tested and understand what's going on. Now, what are the things that a person can do through this process that can help you in general to really determine how to help in the process where you have these symptoms, and you also have tested in the subjective test with those tests that I mentioned earlier? You want to incorporate food, because really food is the things that I focus on most of the time. Food, it is something that really heals people. Like it heals your body. When you give it the right tools, it knows exactly what to do. So it's just amazing. So in that situation, when this happens, you want to make sure that you focus on good fats, like healthy fats, the fats that will support your brain. Maybe your brain, the reason why the signal is not going, maybe there's something wrong there. So you want to make sure that you consume a sufficient amount of omega-3s, right? And omega-3s, if you can get them in food form as well, great. If you can, supplementation with an omega-3 fish oil, that's fine as well. Flaxseed is a good source of omega-3. Seaweed, for instance, you find them seaweeds as well. A good source of omega-3s. And another thing that is also that can help in this essence is to make sure that you eat sufficient amount of vegetables, so nutrients, food rich also in antioxidant, because sometimes it can also be the toxins that we have accumulated in our body that could be the cause of what may be going on with the leptin resistant, if there's not any particular disease that's going on into your system. So of course, in an antioxidant, when it comes to food, you want to focus on rich based antioxidants to antioxidant, you want to focus on things that are very rich in antioxidant. Fruits, all the berry families. The berry families are very, very rich in antioxidants. So when you do the berry family, though, you want to pay attention. You don't want to do berry family that are dipped in sugar, because those ones in long term, they're not going to be beneficial at all, if any. So because then again, too much sugar is not going to benefit. The other treat that I say is also the dark chocolate. So get some dark chocolate, and that one has good amount of or cocoa, the powder cocoa. Whether you mix it with your tea, you make some tea and then put it in there, or just have as a dark black chocolate as dark as possible, and minimize the sugar again, because sugar, it does not help us in terms of our metabolism long-term use. So those are the things that I would say in terms of food. Now, what are the things that you can do in your day-to-day life that can help you in terms of helping you with some type of leptin resistance? Leptin resistance is also associated with sleep. So it's very important to have sufficient amount of sleep. People who have tendency of not having sufficient amount of sleep on regular basis may be experiencing that leptin resistance and not having sufficient amount of rest. So it's important for these hormones. A lot of these hormones, they require us to rest in order for them to be produced correctly. So sleep is very, very important. Now, the other thing is that if you want to also have that control, that self-control, there's that self-mastery that comes in, where you just kind of avoid eating extremely amount of hydrated food, and just kind of focusing on foods that are not that are not very starchy, and incorporating things, such a food, snacks, sorry, I apologize. So when it comes to that, you also want to pay attention to snacks that you're having on regular basis. You don't want to regulate your body to be eating every 2 seconds, because all these things also becomes a habit. So you want to avoid that as well. The other thing I want to mention is that in terms of supporting your metabolism, in terms of supporting this leptin resistance that may happening, you want to also to make sure that you want to make sure that you're doing some good exercises that strengthen your body. Strength workout, it is it is my to-go exercising, because when you invest in your strength working out, when you invest in high resistance working out, is something that's going to go a long way to your longevity. If you want to extend your longevity in life, you want also to make sure that you're incorporating strength working out in terms of your health and your metabolism, and boosting it along the way. Now, our body is very important. The productions of a lot of hormones, they're very dependent on things like exposure to have vitamin D, sufficient amount of vitamin D. That means exposure to the sun. The only cheapest way you can find the vitamin D is exposing yourself to the sun. So as the weather gets better, whatever area you are in the world, make sure when the sun is out, you expose yourself. Again, so expose yourself, limited amount of time. You don't go expose yourself the whole day long through the sun. But again, so expose yourself so that your body, your internal cells, they're very connected to the light of the sun. So they know exactly what to do with it. So please pay attention to that as well, and invest that time in there for your health and your well-being and your metabolism. So as overall, those are the things that I just wanted to share with you in terms of your metabolism, in terms of the leptin resistance. And just remember, is that is the brain that's not receiving that you're full, and that leptin message is not being transmitted correctly into your brain. But there are ways to really boost that. There are ways to make sure that the values go to the optimal level. Is the values extremely low? Absolutely work with your doctor or a practitioner that understands better, and that can help you bring those values to optimal, and just can make you also can help that switch and recognition of that signal correctly to your brain. All right, so I hope this was helpful. I hope it gave you a quick understanding of what leptin is, and if you're leptin resistant, what are the few things that you can start incorporating into your health, and making sure that it gives you a happier version of yourself so that you live longer. I think all of us are here to look forward to living longer and happier in one way or the other. All right. So, well, what I can encourage you is to watch the other hormones that affect your metabolism, and if metabolism is your focus, absolutely do those tests as well to make sure that things are going well internally. All right. Thank you very much. Sharing is caring again, and I'll see you next time. All right. Bye bye.